So what goes with this from a cycling standpoint, since this is Cycling Canada's model, they want athletes to be participating in sports outside of the bike, outside of cycling. Now it's Canada, so they've chosen hockey as kind of the primary outside sport because it's a winter sport. It's going to be going through from September through to March. BMX, typically a spring, summer sport, maybe early fall, so it's going to go from like where I am in Victoria, BC, this is going to go from like March, April through to August, September at the very latest. But that matches well with hockey and with soccer. But these are land-based sports. It gives the child something to develop, gives them team tactics, they get to play and socialize, and they get to run and jump, and they get those hard sort of impacts from a land-based sport that they don't necessarily get on a bike. Moving forward, now we're in learning to train. Now we're in that 9 to 12, 8 to 11-year-old age range. And at this point, it's still very neurological as far as adaptations go. They're starting to be able to develop speed more at this point. If you're an early developer on the female side, in that 8 to 11 range, it'll be at the tail end, but you could start to hit your peak height velocity in and around the end of that, which leads to being able to develop other things a little bit early. But just because they're an early developer does not mean that they are mentally able to or mentally ready to move into more serious training. So oftentimes you'll see with early developers in this sort of learn to train or training to train range, you'll see an early developer that just gets slingshotted towards the national team because they are just killing their competition out there, and it's not even a challenge. And so they don't challenge the athlete. They also don't typically ask the athlete whether they want to go in that way. The athlete's just super excited and happy to be winning, and people are cheering them on, and they love the attention. And I've seen so many athletes burn out or start to burn out in the next couple of blocks because at this point, they were just touted as the next best, the next great one, the next whatever in that sport. And it's a shame because oftentimes they don't get challenged until this 16 to 18 or 18 to 21-year-old range. And then everyone catches up by this point. But the people that weren't early developers, they had to fight tooth and nail to stay in the game. And then they learned all the fundamentals here, and they bypassed them somewhere in this age range, and this early developer is burnt out, or they'll burn out by the time they hit the national team. It's game over. So, important. It was a bit of a tangent, but important to identify these early developers and challenge them, but also look where they are mentally as well, because they may not be at that point where you want them to be learning to compete when they should be learning to train. They should still be doing the fundamentals. They should still be learning the basics of training before jumping the gun into training to compete or learning to compete. So if we go back here to learning to train, we've got still a very high level of extracurricular activity happening, around 500 hours a year of just outside sport. We still have BMX in there. This is the primary. We've got now 2 other cycling disciplines. So because it's Cycling Canada's model, we've brought in, say, Cycling 2 as a secondary cycling unit, and Cycling 1 is going to be their primary at some point. Now I'm biased. I was a track sprinter, so we're going to say that Cycling 1 is track cycling and sprint specific. BMX plays very well into track sprinting, as a lot of the track sprinters, current best world track sprinters, came from BMX. So that's the model that we're going to go with. Cycling 2 we'll say is road, but it could be mountain bike, it could be cyclocross, it could be road, could be I don't know anything else, but we'll say that's road, and cycling 1 is track. The athlete's still predominantly learning fundamental skills across a broad range of sport here. They're just learning how to train. They're starting to take things a little bit more seriously. So one of these, maybe 2 of these, is still pretty high level sport. BMX is high level, and then cycling and track are just kind of for fun and more for learning and just being on a bike. Then we go to 12 to 16 or 11 to 16 years old. One of these sports, we're in training to train. One of these sports now is probably still at a high level, and the others are more supplemental. It might be for school, it might be an outside club, but it's more recreational in sport. BMX is taking over. Now you're starting to do really well at local races. You're starting to probably podium at this point at provincials. And you've got some supplemental riding for the road and the track. Moving forward now to high school and to the later parts of high school, you're probably grade 10 to grade 12. You've got a couple of extracurricular activities outside of cycling. One of them could still be serious. So if you're a hockey player, you could still be playing junior hockey. If you're a soccer player, you could still be playing gold. Maybe one up from there. But your main focus is going to be now transitioning towards the track. BMX, you're starting to taper away from BMX. You found track, you really like track here. It's become the focus. Cycling 2 is your road season. So again, road is a big supplement for track cycling and track sprinting. So it's growing and BMX is shrinking. But the primary focus again, through the spring and summer, is going to be on the bike and on the track, with hockey, say, as the primary other sport, but it's going to be your winter sport. We're developing still speed, power, explosiveness at this point, and that will transition. We're also developing spatial awareness, team tactics, being able to navigate your body through space without getting crushed because you're playing junior hockey. All of that is going to translate onto the track in explosiveness, keeping that engine built so you're not losing fitness. It's not specific to the bike, but you have to be fit to play junior hockey or to play at a higher level in soccer. That is going to bode well. I mean, look at Kelsey Mitchell, our current women's track cyclist. She went from soccer to track cycling, and now she's at World Cups, and she's just won silver and bronze in Hong Kong and in New Zealand at World Cups. So it's definitely transferable.